welcome to episode 525 of the Awesome Comics Podcast. This particular show is where small press and independent comics make quite a loud noise.
Who's this?
My name is Vince Hunt.
Rather well spoken.
And joining me this week is the creator and artist and writer of Viper and the webcomic series Vanguard, Daniel Butcher. Hello, Daniel.
Well, hello.
And the absolute beast that's Stoney Esmond.
Thank God, I thought we were on NPR fucking whisper radio there for a minute.
I tell you what, I could probably do an ASMR YouTube channel, don't you think?
I don't understand what that is. What is ASMR?
I don't know. So, ass to mouth ratio.
You filth monster.
That's how we grade home movies.
There's no ratio. It happens all the time.
Oh, this is very lopsided.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to the show.
Well, if you do that.
What's happened to the show? Well, actually, if you're a regular listener, you know that nothing's happened to the show. It's just
Nothing's
what
exactly the same.
What it always is.
Yeah.
My intro was a little bit different then because I just decided at the last moment to do it, and I kept eye contact with both of them as I.
I know what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah. I did laugh this week. I was walking through Cardiff, right, and I walked past this. It was like a dad. Cardiff can be rough for anyone from outside the UK, and there was this dad with a daughter. And the daughter was probably 10, and he was obviously saying to her, "What do you want to get from the shops?" And she says, "I don't know, fucking whatever." I just fucking laughed. What has happened to the world?
It's only 10.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Now.
Fucking whatever.
Yeah.
But
whatever.
said in a Welsh accent, which I can't do, made it doubly hilarious.
Yeah. But welcome to the show, everyone. We're recording a little bit earlier, but you'll never know that because this show goes out same bat time, same bat channel.
You know if you're on the Slack, because I asked everyone if they had any shout-outs.
Yeah. And
Which
of
you
course,
do, coming up later.
there will be shout-outs later. There will be a lot of great indie comic recommendations, and also a lot of comic book chat. Some very interesting chat this week.
Yeah, a bit different this week.
And especially if you like a bit of Doom, as in Doomface, because we're joined by Aaron Sparrow, the creator of Nil Before Doomface, which Dan Butcher brought to our attention when the Kickstarter was up and running. And it's really fascinating. It's a great chat. You'll get a lot out of it.
Lovely looking comic. I mean, Aaron says it should be in your sort of inbox next week. So something to look forward to.
Yeah. And certainly I have noticed I take Kickstarter breaks. You guys, there's always something going on Kickstarter.
I've been pretty relentless the past couple of months, just non-stop backing people.
I think only once in the last few years have I had a period where I wasn't backing something.
See, I look like an absolute bastard because I have to leave it alone or I'll just back too much stuff and it'll just absolutely screw me over. So if anyone wonders, well, Vince never backs my stuff.
No, Vince hates me.
I'm not backing anything, and I hate we
won't go into it now, but there was an issue that came up about backing books on Kickstarter and getting hit with the shipping fees on the back end and not knowing them beforehand. I've got to look a bit more into that because I don't know what the ins and outs of it are.
Yeah.
But it sounds.
It's all about clarification.
It really is keeping that open and honest. This may be a subject for another time, but I wrote a piece this week on Tops and Bottoms about cross promotion and about promoting your book and other people's. And I do think there is a definite trend towards you only consider promoting other people's books if you have something to promote. And I think that the dynamics of Kickstarter encourages that.
Right, okay.
I think someone on the Slack was saying they've only just put a landing page up and already they're getting people emailing them saying, "Can you promote my book?"
Okay.
Or this sort of thing. So I think we need to start being careful about that because it's not a good look if you're only promoting other people's books to benefit the promotion of your own one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not so great.
I think, and this isn't something, it's something I should do more of, but I think just more in general, like a lot of, when I say the indie comics community, I mean as a whole, not just creators, but readers and stuff. Obviously, we all enjoy these books, but just like a direct message to like the person who put out the book, just sort of saying, "Oh, I read this by the way, and it's great. I just wanted to let you know that I really enjoyed it."
Or putting that somewhere and saying, "This is great. You should have a look at this."
Yeah.
And I think I described it as being almost undeniable that promotion helps sell a book. Yeah. So enthusiasm will at some point maybe somewhere will help sell a book. We hope.
And I know we've discovered books that that haven't we've just discovered them from wherever, and we've posted like on Instagram. Oh, we talked about this week.
Yeah.
We have no connection to these creators. You know, they haven't hard sold a Kickstarter to us or anything like that. And the messages we get back from these creators is always just absolutely lovely and wonderful.
We had a lovely message back from Stuart Moore at Ahoy Comics today, didn't we?
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it's great. Fantastic.
Because the thing about indie and small press comics is you're shouting into a void. And it's I think the problem with...
It's harder and harder.
It feels more like a void now, doesn't it? I think that, like, just in general with the internet and the world and etc. But, you know, it feels like, God, how am I going to get my work out?
I think as well, people get so tied up in their own things and making their own comics, which is at times quite a solitary job. Yeah. And I think since COVID, it's got only worse, isn't it? We're very much sort of living on our own quite a lot of the time. And I think you make this comic and you put it out there, and then you start thinking, how can I promote it? Yeah. And I think what you should be doing is just living in that space anyway and promoting good comics constantly. Yeah. If you can, if you want to, you know, if they're good enough and stuff like that. And I don't think people are enough. I think it only occurs to them to go on this forum or go on this Discord or go on this Slack channel or whatever it is, contact this podcast or contact this website when they've got that single book rough. Now.
I mean, if you're a single creator doing a book and then you've got also like marketing's almost the companies that have full-time people doing marketing. And
it was years ago, obviously. But when we did the anthology for the Awesome Comics, just by the nature of just having this show, we had probably 50 to 75% of our marketing was already done. So, do you know what I mean? And
we had a bit of a weird. We had a discussion around because don't forget we were going to kickstart that book. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I think one of us said, rather than kickstart it, we've already got an audience. Let's send it out to 5 people we think will get something from it and promote it themselves. Do you remember we did that? Do you remember?
Yeah, we did.
Just chose this little group, and I think that worked for us quite well.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that you're about to hear in the interview that comes up is talking about running a series on Kickstarter. Now, just getting put that money in my hand, you know, like the Jay from Jay and Silent Bob. If you just think about getting the money from your book and put it in your pocket and walking away, that doesn't work if you've got a series to promote.
No,
you have to remain engaged, and I think when you're putting a series out, you have to think, right, thank you for buying this one. What can I do? And the dude you'll hear from shortly, he does stuff that encourages them to be part of this crew.
I think this is also a danger. Sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to jump all over you.
No, so I'm just it's almost no downtime when you're doing a series like that.
Yeah,
there's no downtime.
I also think it's a danger that some small and indie publishers fall into when they're. You know, some people do gangbusters and they're doing great. They have a great model for Kickstarters and, you know, fulfilling the books and stuff. You know, folks like Time Bomb or Hellbound, you know, they've got this sort of pre-order.
Avery Hill.
Yeah, Avery Hill and people like that. I've seen some others where, you know, you pledge on a book and then the updates you're getting are immediately about the next book that's being launched. Rather than a constant... Like we're saying,
coming.
You know, how this book's getting on. Oh, look at the behind the scenes, or you know, about the book that you just bought. You're essentially just getting advertised lots of other
for something else. Yeah,
I've had.
I don't find that too endearing.
No, I mean, at the same time, we understand that marketing has to happen, and the advertising for it and getting the word out. But sometimes that can kind of like
there's stuff that is almost intrusive. I find it intrusive.
Yeah,
it's like stuff like I'll back a book because I like the writer.
Yeah.
That's being put out by a certain group, and then next thing you know, that I start getting emails about a book that's nothing to do with it by someone else on a subject I don't want, and it drives me up the wall.
Exactly,
and it's intrusive.
And also, the title of the email ties into the one I've backed. So when I click it and I immediately read it and just think this is nothing to do. Why are you? It's almost like they're using the project as a clickbait title to then sell something else.
And they're using your purchase of a completely unrelated book to spam you with other bollocks. And I actually think Kickstarter need to fucking knuckle down on that because I think it's shameless.
Whereas the likes of Doomface, there is an interaction, there is a character development nature to it that goes.
You'll hear in a minute. He does this sending messages out in character. I thought it was a lovely idea.
Great idea. Yeah.
And there's no spoilers for the book, but I tell you what. No spoilers for the conversation. Let's just get straight into it.
Okay, so joining us tonight, we've got former lead editor at Boom and gone on to work at titles such as Darkwing Duck, Richie Rich, Miss Meow, Death Rage, appearing on Thinking Critical with Wes, and now publishing his own title, Kneel Before Doomface. Welcome to the show, Aaron Sparrow.
Thank you. I
How's that?
appreciate. Yeah, I like it.
Good to see you,
Yeah,
mate.
nice one.
We had to fight to get you on the Zoom, but we worked
Yeah,
in the end.
yeah.
It was
Worked
all
in
right.
the end.
Technical being issues being what they are, but you're here now, and
Yes.
and you're here. Well, I mean, some of our regular listeners, they might recognise the name Doomface because it has been spoken about several times on the show, and it is a lovely looking book.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
I mean, let's start off with Doomface before we delve into how.
Yeah, then we
how
can do
this
the
began.
origin story after that. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously Kneel Before Doomface, quite an interesting title, but what is it?
So Kneel Before Doomface is kind of. I wanted to do a book that took everything that I love about comics and kind of like mashed it up. And so if you've enjoyed The Tick, if you've enjoyed like the Venture Brothers, or even my work on Darkwing Duck, or things like Sam and Max, it's all of those sensibilities kind of like crammed into one thing. So I wanted to see if I could do a comedy title, but also one that had stakes and people really get invested in the characters. And I kind of rolled it around in my mind with these characters that I'd had for years, and I was like, "There's something missing. What can I do to make this different?" Because there's a ton of superhero books out there. So like, what can I do to really make this different? And as I was coming up with villains for the series, I just really liked the name Doomface. Once I arrived at Doomface, I just really liked that name because I was like, oh, it could be really funny to be like, I am Doomface, which is a ridiculous name, but then follow it up with, for I am the face of your doom. And it's like that. I kind of like when characters over-explain things. Like one of my favorite bits is from like Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, where Captain Hammer says, I'm going to take Penny back to the ham cave. I'm going to show her the ham jet. I'm going to show her the ham cycle, and then I'm going to show her the hammer. And these are not the hammer. And then he walks off, and he leaves the character with that moment. But then he walks back in insecure and goes, "The hammer is my penis." I like the fact that he had to come back and he had to clarify.
Yeah.
So I always kind of like that kind of comedy. So once I arrived at like Doomface as a name, and then I kind of cobbled together the pieces that I wanted, like costume pieces, where I'm like, okay, I want an artist to kind of design this based on these things, and I sent it off to Timothy Lim over at Iconic Comics, because I was doing an art trade with him. Silvani was going to do some stuff for him, and he was going to do some designs for us. And so Tim took those elements and put them together into a really great design, and sent back to Doomface Design. He sent one for a couple of the other characters too, but Doomface is the only one I ended up using. And it just looked so good that I was like, okay, well, I want to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my whole idea on its head. I'm going to tell the story largely from the villain's perspective. And so I've always liked 80s villains like, Skeletor, Cobra Commander, Mumra, Hordak, Primeval from the Ghostbusters cartoon that had the gorilla. I've always liked those kind of villains.
The
and
big
so that's what
action,
they're
like action figure villains, aren't they? The big,
Yes.
bombastic. Yeah.
There is that G.I. Joe groove to it for me, Cobra Commander. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's actually our own version of G.I. Joe that you'll see later in the book, our own version of Cobra. We're kind of parodying everything and putting all the things versions of all the things that I love into, this overarching story. I already know where it ends. I just don't know all of the middle pieces. I know a lot of them, but I keep coming up with new ideas and the story keeps extending. So it's kind of great to be able to world build for a change and not have, the only thing that can stop me is me. Is if I run out of gas, it's not, a publisher's not going to come in and tell me, oh, we're cutting the book off at issue 8. So you got.
I think that sometimes it's the fun of it. You lose a bit of the fun of it when you plan out a whole arc, and then you say, right, this is the arc I've got, and then all you've got to start doing is filling in the gaps and writing the issues that are part of the arc. But if you, like you say, like you write it where you don't really know where it's going, it can be a bit more fun for you, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. I've said this before. Towards the end of Silvani and my second run on Darkwing Duck, I had a one-issue Halloween kind of horror story planned, and then we put Bushroot into the story in a very minor cameo. But once we put him in the story, it's like he started to write himself. He started to write what he would do, and it changed into a two-parter. And the story became about Bushroot when it really originally wasn't about that. So I think it's important to, as a writer, when you're, you have your idea and you sit down and you start to flesh it out, but if you get new things that come in, new inspiration, new ideas, and the story starts to go in a different direction, don't be afraid to shift gears. Don't be married to what you have, because you can think of something better along the way.
Yeah. Just to roll back to the design of Doomface, there's a little bit of the original Death's Head about him, really, for me. Is that
a little bit? Yeah, there's there's a little bit about that. Like actually, it's funny that you say that, because I actually toyed with the idea of having him do the yes at the end of sentences, and then as I started to write it out, I was like, this isn't working the way that I want it to.
Right.
It's actually kind of like impeding some of his lines. So I took it out. But yeah, he's mostly like, I think the inspiration that I sent to Tim was I sent him a couple of character face drawings. I was like, I want the horns, I want the hood. I sent him like Bishamon's armor from Darkstalkers. I was like, because he's Doomface, I want faces all over the armor, so shoulder pads, knee pads, chest plate. I sent him that, and he took all that and he threw in a little bit of Primeval from the Ghostbusters, and a little bit of Hordak, and we got our final design, and then Renzo took that and refined it even further and kind of made it his own.
Oh, nice. They've done a great job, because like I can see all those elements in there, and you can see it straight away. He's the classic 80s cartoon comic book villain.
Yeah,
it's kind of a shorthand straight away, and like you look at the character and you're saying that's what you're getting.
Yeah,
which is
but it leads to tone, but it also leads to narrative in a way. That
and there's an interesting thing. I mean, I know I made the action figure sort of comparison just a minute ago, but it's one of those brilliant character designs where in the comic book, they're stretching, they're moving, they're bending their elbows and stuff like that. But there's like when he appears for the first time and there's this big panel of him stood there, you can also see I can see how they would make an action figure of that, like where the segments would go, because he's he's almost got that samurai sort of armor as well, hasn't he? He's got this sort of look to him. But then he goes ahead and does something. I mean, the resurrection is quite a novel thing, because I mean.
Oh yeah, thank you for not spoiling that. You're dancing around it. And I love that, because that is a big surprise, and it was a huge concern, because that's actually, it's a reveal, but it's on the top of the opposing page. So typically you would flip and you would see the reveal first. But what we found with the little preview version that we did is that when people would flip the page, the image of Doomface resurrected takes up, like, it just grabs you. So him like standing there in all his glory, it grabs you. So you don't look at the next page until it's time to look down that page.
Right. Okay.
Interesting. So how did you how did you then change the rhythm of it? Because like changing pacing within a book can have positive.
Sets off it moves on the rest of the pacing as well. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Where you've worked on the flips.
Yeah. Was it hard to tweak, or was it just?
No, it was. I kept thinking, like, we might have to put an additional page in to not do this reveal. And then once we did the preview comic and I saw kind of how like it laid out in the way that, where your eye goes, I was like, okay, you know what, we don't have to insert an additional page. Although I'm always down to insert additional pages. Like I keep coming up with things that I'm like, oh, I wish that we put that in this. But at some point you have to release the book. You have to get it done. You have to put
and
it
not
out.
Drive the artist nuts. Yeah.
It's the nice thing about Renzo as an artist is that he's up for anything.
Right.
Like he's so excited to be on the book. Like I've never worked with an artist before that I've told, you don't have to draw every single thing in the background, right? Like you can leave some backgrounds blank because
a lot of data
on word balloons there. Yeah. We're going to cover it with the art, and he's just so into it. Like he does every detail, and actually in the lettering phase, one of the reasons that we kind of like the lettering phase took so long is because we kept tweaking balloons, and I kept like stripping dialogue and changing things so that we could get smaller balloons, trimming it down. I don't think we lost anything that was essential to the book. I think all the jokes still land. I think everything still works, but take some of that out so that you could see more of the stuff that was going on in the panels.
I've fallen into that trap as an artist to draw loads and loads of stuff, and then when you put the word balloons on, it's like I've lost like half that panel. Why did I bother?
Yeah.
It's really, so good. Eventually, I want to put out like an artist edition that is just the art.
Just the art.
People want that. Yeah, where it's just the art, no words, so people can just see every pristine thing that Lorenzo put on the page.
They love that in Europe, I tell you. And when last time I was on Glam, loads of books had that version sitting next to them. New books would come out with that version sat next to them in black and white. Yeah, there's quite a lot of that going on there.
Just the art.
Yeah. Talking about the colours, you've chosen a kind of 80s, 90s colour palette. It reminds me of sort of the color palette you used to see on artists like Bagley or on the original run of the Thunderbolts or something like that. It's a
Yeah.
very bright Sal Buscema style palette for me. Was that a conscious thing as well, or?
It wasn't a conscious thing because now I always like bright colors. You know, you typically I've worked with Andrew Dalhouse as a colorist who's absolutely fantastic. He does like the bright poppy colors. He does, you know, the
Yeah.
explosions look like they leap off the page. And unfortunately, Andrew's like super busy, so I knew I wouldn't be able to get him on this project. But fortunately, once Renzo was turning in pages and I was putting them up and showing them off, a colorist that he's worked with numerous times reached out to me and said, "Hey, like, you know, I really like coloring Renzo. If you need a colorist, let me know. Or if you need some covers done, you know, here's some of my work that I've done over him and other artists." And it was Oscar Carreno. And Oscar is really great. Like his stuff, when he first gave me his samples, I was like, yeah, I think this is the way. I think this is the way to go. So I didn't set out to do that color palette, but what he showed me, I was like, this is what we want
This
to do.
works.
He's knocked it out.
Are they
So
all
it
US
does,
based?
I wanted
or-
to have a very bright feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm US based. I'm out in the people.
What about the colorists? Because we're hearing about a lot of colorists coming from South America and places like that now.
Yeah, both Renzo and Oscar are from South America.
Oh right, okay, there you go. Cool. Yeah.
That's great, man. Like you're getting like with the internet, it's kind of allowed for these international kind of art teams. It's yeah, it's good and not. I mean, if you're an artist, it means you're competing with the entire rest of the world.
Yeah.
But if you're kind of like commissioning an art, you got a bigger selection and potentially your kind of budget can go a bit further because of how money
Well,
works.
2008
the exchange rates. Yeah.
Yeah, 2000 AD took advantage of that in the 70s and 80s by employing loads of Spanish and Italian artists because it was so much cheaper.
Yeah.
It's just
But
had to worry
they're-
about the thing
they're
getting
also
there post-wise.
workhorses, aren't they?
Oh, they turned out to be brilliant, but you know, Bellardinelli and all these sort of people. But yeah. Okay.
But that's when you actually physically had to bring the art from
Yeah,
mainland
to
Spain
post
to
it. Yeah.
which is like if it gets lost,
Yeah.
that's lost.
Fucking emails
That's
ruined
nuts.
us, isn't it? Yeah.
But you know, Vince, you know, you were talking about how like you could see Doomface as an action figure. You could see where all the articulation would be. That's by design. Everything that I wanted to do with this series, I wanted everything to be very toyetic. Like if you didn't know who these characters were and you were just walking by a shelf of action figures and you saw them sitting there, would you want to reach out and grab it and check it out and maybe buy it? That's always the attention. I'm a toy guy, you know. It's like I love toys. I collect toys. I've done stuff in the toy industry. So you know, everything in the book is kind of designed to be that way. And I wanted all the characters, despite the fact that it is largely a comedy, you know, there's a lot of comedic elements to it. I wanted the characters to look cool. I wanted them not to be, you know, there are characters, especially once we get to the second issue, you'll see characters that are more comedic in design. You know, your low level supervillains or, you know, your low level superheroes. But everything about the main characters I wanted to pop.
Man, the rule of cool goes so far. Just have your characters look good and interesting.
Even
and
if
cool.
you're going to kill them off.
Yeah,
because
man,
if they look like a really cool main character and you know they're going to die, it's going to be more shocking for the reader when they do die because they look like they had main character syndrome, don't they? You just think, this person's got a really good.
They've
design.
actually spent a bit of time on his design, so he won't get killed.
Yeah.
And then when he does, you're like, oh.
Yeah, you're like, oh my god, unexpected. And then sometimes fans are like, what a waste.
Yeah.
What a waste of a great design.
come back.
But I kept you guessing though, didn't I?
Yeah.
So the campaign for this is the book is almost wrapped up, ready to go to print and go out to backers. Is that right, Aaron?
Yeah, we're doing
nice.
We're doing post production now. Indiegogo just sent back the changes that they want us to do to backer kit. So those have been done, and the backer kit should, you know, barring any we're recording this on a Friday, barring any other snafus with Kickstarter, the backer kit should go out tomorrow, Saturday.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I backed it on
that's
Kickstarter.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I got through
Do you
my
find it's a
Kickstarter.
benefit using both? Are you reaching different audiences doing that way?
I've only done Kickstarter personally.
Okay.
So,
Right.
this is the first. This is the first campaign. There's a lot of people have asked if I'm going to do Fund My Comic. I would love to do something with them. I just haven't had any of those conversations with them.
Fair enough.
But I would love to like give them some business and let them, you know, like if I do like a second chance as we're getting ready to launch number 2. Number 2, I might do a second chance offer over on Fund My Comic or something like that.
Okay.
There's a bit of chatter about like Indiegogo, kind of like the bottom falling out of it. I can't validate that or not because I've not used the platform, but Kickstarter always kind of keeps on trying to innovate and redo the way they do it. And it seems to have kind of got that title of the crowdfunding and stuff, and it seems to be holding on to it. But
I genuinely think the big difference between Indiegogo and Kickstarter is that Indiegogo doesn't have an app. I think
okay.
I don't know why they don't. No, I don't know why not. Yeah,
it's so easy to back stuff on. You just like the Kickstarter, you click the link and back that.
It's too easy, mate.
It's
sometimes
too easy. It's too.
Yeah, I back stuff and think, fuck me, why did I do that?
On a whim, they got you. They got you on the impulse buy. You're
Yeah.
standing at the checkout lane, and you look over at that People magazine, and you go, "Yeah." You throw it in your cart, and then you're at home, and you're like, "Why did I buy this People magazine?"
I'm standing at the checkout lane. I think you mean I'm standing at the checkout lane. And I see Razzle Readers' Wives.
Oh God!
And I reach over.
What
and I
store
pick it
are
up.
you in? Anyway,
I always fire out the app and it says we need your details for this survey. And what comic's this? I'm like, oh fucking, I don't even remember backing that.
I know. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah.
Shipping stuff.
I've gone in and started untagging myself from fucking future emails from resulted
yeah.
large.
It feels like mostly we're like, especially if you like comics or like pledging to comics, we're just filling out surveys now, aren't we? That's what we're just doing week on week.
Yeah. How did you find the?
I've got to figure out if I've received all of my stuff. I think the only books that I don't remember receiving are from your boy Zach. So I'm just gonna I gotta go back through my Indiegogo and see if because it's quite possible that they arrived and I was busy and I put them in a pile and I just haven't looked.
Which is even worse when you do digital comics.
When you do digital and the
emails, digital only, and you're like,
yeah.
Where the fuck is that? I have to go
Send
back
you
through
an email.
Kickstarter, find stuff. Yeah. How did you find the PR journey for it, Aaron? I mean, I know you've worked at big companies and stuff, so you're kind of used to the pimpage that you have to do with a new book. But is there anything you did that you found was useful, or you'll do again, or stuff you did and you thought, I wish I'd never done that, like appearing on this podcast, for example?
I actually I've never regretted appearing on anybody's podcast. I'll go on any podcast, big, small, medium. If I'm invited, and because I'm always flattered to be invited, and I have time, I'll always try to do a show, and hopefully Zoom cooperates. Because man, when I was trying to sign in, just window after window was popping up and going, you got to do this, you got to do this, update this, you install this, and I'm like, oh, I just wanted to get on the call. but no, the PR was I knew from working in comics that in mainstream comics, PR almost doesn't exist. Like when I worked at Boom, the marketing guy who would tout what a marketing genius he was, he would like just send a press release to Bleeding Cool and The Beat, and then spend the rest of the day on Perez Hilton. It's like my work is done.
Lucky Perez.
So you that tells you how long ago this was too. So you get used to not having any support for your book. When we did the book at Joe, when we did the second Darkwing series at Joe Books, we had no publicity whatsoever. They had no marketing budget, and anything that James and I tried to do, so it'd be like, hey, I want to do an interview with you. It had to be approved by first of all, the questions had to be approved by them, then approved by Disney. And then our answers had to be approved by them and approved by Disney.
Oh God!
And so it was like,
I mean,
so
the Disney thing's bad enough. Well, not bad enough, but because you're still getting to work on that sort of IP. But you've already got to go through when you're working with a big IP like that, whether it be Disney or Hasbro or whatever it is. You've naturally got to go through that system. But then to throw up even more hurdles for a title that it makes it almost impossible to market anything.
Can't do it.
We couldn't get any variant covers done. They didn't. Joe Books didn't want to do any variant covers. I was like just doing a 1 in 10 incentive where we do like a program where we do something cool that over time, you collect these and it does like a big image or something. I said that alone, will help retailers notice the book and stock more so that people can find it. And that's where like incentives like that are kind of beneficial because you do get the retailer to invest a little bit more, and then maybe more people find the book. The way that DC and Marvel abuse it is ridiculous, and Dynamite, the way that they all abuse it is ridiculous. But we couldn't do any of that. So when I went into Kneel Before Doomface, I was like, the field is so crowded. What can I do to really stand out? And so what I did was I leaned into the nature of the book. So I got some really good advice from Aaron Lepresti. I was sitting with him at a show and was talking about, we're working on the book and we're doing this. And he's like, so you've started it? And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, have you talked about it yet? And I said, no. I said, we're like a year out, from launching the campaign. And he goes, start talking about it now.
Right.
He goes, just show off little pieces of art and just start talking about it now so that people have it in their heads that this is the thing that's coming, and then they can start anticipating it. And it was really good advice. So I started, putting out stuff, talking about the book. and then we did a campaign where there will be perks for being one of the disciples of Doomface. If you went and you signed up, you send an email to beforedoomface@gmail.com. You would get put on our list, so that when we'll do like a little exclusive bells and whistles that'll just go out to the people that signed up for that, people that were part of the and then the people that came in on the campaign. So that was part of the marketing. And then every time someone signed up for the mailing list, they would get a personal response from either Doomface or Lexi.
Nice.
So they would get an in-character response. And that, I think, really helped us. Due to the nature of the book, it was easy to do that and do kind of like funny responses. And, because Doomface is thanking you for signing up, but also degrading you because you're beneath him. It's like just those kind of things that people like.
Some people like
that.
It.
Must be fun. That must be fun to have like a comedic villain. You must there's a certain element of like, you just letting off some steam there, aren't you? With both your comedic chops.
You can lean into stuff, can't you?
I just you get to be an asshole, but in a nice way.
Yeah, what it is. It's like, imagine if you sent an email to Skeletor, what kind of response would you get? He'd definitely call you a boob. He'd definitely run you down. Even if he needed the thing that you brought him. So we did that, and then like Lexi is kind of fun because she's very eye rolling about like Doomface. Like, Doomface told me to tell you this. So you get a response from her, and it's a little bit different. So
in the Marvel UK comics of Transformers, they used to have Grimlock answering the letters page, and they called it Grimgrams. And basically, you wrote in a letter to Grimlock, and he basically did shit talk to you back. And lots of people saying, I reckon so and so could beat you. I think they had a Decepticon run in it as well, and I can't remember which one it was. It might have been Soundwave.
That's like the Savage Dragon letters page.
Yeah.
But it just makes it fun.
Well, it allows you.
Yeah,
it does. It adds an extra layer of kind of fun and immersion. And sometimes I would get people, they would respond, or they would, once they found out kind of what kind of responses they would get. I had people email me as their superhero persona, like challenging Doomface, and then I would just respond and like just run them down.
Mate, we did an anthology for a year. We did 4 issues in a year, and we had a letters page, and it's probably the filthiest thing I've ever written. So, quite possibly, yeah.
God bless.
It gets them on board for the character as well. They get the kind of the idea or taste of the character. And
since Stan, people have loved that, mate. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. Stan soapbox onwards, connecting to the character, connecting to the creators as well. And I think the thing with you is because you're kickstarting a series. You're not just doing a single issue where people will buy it. Fine, lovely, walk away. You've got your money, but you want people to come back for issue 2.
There's retention, isn't there?
You need to keep them on, and you're doing that. And trying to do it in those sort of ways, if you see what I mean. Makes sense?
I want people to read the book. Like, obviously, I'm grateful for anybody that just picks it up and they're like, I don't really read comics, I just collect them and I put it in a bag and board, or I get it slabbed or whatever it is that they do. I'm grateful for all of that. But what I really want is we put so much work into this. I've refined the story so many times. I've gone over the issue multiple times. The reason that you guys got the version so late. And by the way, aside from the editorial people that I take editorial notes from, just to like get feedback, you guys are the only ones who've read the book.
Yes. Thank you, mate. Thank you, dude.
Yeah. So
yeah. You must have been fighting to get it ready then, send off, I'm guessing.
Well, I had a version that I sent to Dan yesterday, and it was it bounced back because instead of comic, for some reason I did it on my phone and it autocorrected to conic. So in your email address. So I like look and I'm like, yeah, Dan, I sent it, and then I look and I see that like it's bounced back, and I'm like, damn it. So
I got that at my it came into my website, vanguardconic.com.
Yeah. The day-to-day struggles of like just trying to get your comic out there when you're an indie person on the go.
You do conventions as well, do you, Aaron? I think I saw an account where you met. Did you meet Wes for the first time at a convention or something? Is that right? Or did you meet him before?
Face to face. Yeah, face to face. I met him. It's the first time I met him. Was at Dallas Fan Expo.
Oh, it was Dallas. I was wondering if it was Heroes, but yeah, how was Dallas? Was that a good con?
Just for a bit of context, this is Wes from
Talking Critical. Yeah, who you appear with quite a lot and chat about new comics out and stuff like that, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of funny because I just I was watching comic YouTube in the background while I was working, and his videos eventually came up. The algorithm just bounced him into my feed. And I was like, oh, I like this guy, so I followed his content. And then one day I just saw him talking on Twitter, like responding to a thread that I was involved in. And I was like, oh man, I love the show. And he's like, oh, thanks, man. And he reached out and asked, do you want to come on and like talk about stuff. And so like I did an interview with him, and then from there we did like a series of like creating comics interviews. Mark Pellegrini and I were on that together. And then pretty soon he was like, you want to be on the Comics Aficionados? I've got an opening. And I was like, sure. And been doing that for years now. It's
is that like a sort of live stream version of it? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we record videos and we do a podcast, and we do that on Wednesdays, and then on Saturday mornings is the live show.
Right.
Okay.
And we're actually talking about doing a once a month live show that I'll host, because it'll be at night when Wes is asleep because he's in the Philippines, in the time zones. But I want to do like an indie creator roundup where we just have a panel of indie creators that are working on projects that talk about the process, what the project is. I want to promote guys that, there's so many books out there. Every day I'm coming across a new, crowdfunder for an indie book, and I'm like, oh my God, that looks good. There's so much talent in the indies right now. I want to.
We're over 10 years on this show. Every week we do an indie or a small, five or six indie or small press books, and we're still being surprised by people just in the UK that we've never heard of.
Yeah.
So trying to find people in the US, etc. Yeah.
And there's always people that just start making their comics. Sometimes it's cyclical. Just as a creator who makes indie and small press comics, decide they've done like a 5-year stint, but then life being what it is, they sort of move on. You totally understand, but they move on just as someone else appears. So there's always fresh blood into this. That sounds really creepy when I put it like that. But it's
more meat for the grinder.
Meat for
fresh meat for the grinder. Yeah.
Another interview. So you enjoy shows out there. So what we were saying there is it's the first time you met Wes was at Dallas. Were you tabling at that one, were you? Or?
Yeah, actually, Drew, who does Unholy Nightmare, which I'm editor on, actually, he just closed his #2 campaign for Unholy Nightmare. There's a 10-page add-on called The Golem that he and I co-wrote.
All right.
He and I, H.H. German, who does Here Comes Calico, had like a big table, and he was kind enough to give us half his table so that we could, because we didn't get into the show as guests. He gave up half his table so that we could sit and table with him. And then, we also had a place where all the comics aficionados that were there. Because I think the only regulars that weren't there were Doc and Jim from Weird Science. But a place where they could kind of have like a base of operations. They could come and sit. So if you were a fan and you wanted to come, you're someone who watches the show. You wanted to come and meet Wes. You wanted to come and meet Max. You wanted to meet Josh, or and anybody that's a guest. We were kind of like centralized there. So.
Cool. Do you do any other ones through the year?
Yeah, I'll be at San Diego next week.
Right.
I'll be sitting with Aaron Lopresti. I've got the broken foot still. It's mostly healed, but it's still tough for me to walk a lot. So it's nice to be able to have somewhere to sit. Plus, then people can find you. You don't have people like text, tweeting at you, going, "Where are you?"
You're a writer, so being in one place for a while, that's fine, isn't it?
Yeah,
you've got to be thinking, I've got to get to those long boxes, though, and these shows, yeah.
So we'll do San Diego. I'm going to do New York this year, which I've done the last couple of years. I did MegaCon earlier in the year. There's a couple of big shows that I like to go to. What would be nice is if and then I have a con in Northern California, I think in November, that I'm actually a guest at. They actually are bringing.
Oh, nice.
Which is nice because that hasn't happened in a while. So it's always nice when a show brings you out and makes
that's
you.
great.
Yeah.
I think the last place I was a guest at was Bell County.
Right.
With the Iconic guys, and that was a great show. That's a fantastic con if anybody ever wants to make it down to Bell County.
Yeah,
I'm doing Baltimore in October. I'm up over there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What is the for like the indie comics side of tabling? What is that like in the States? Because obviously we're very UK centric and we know very well what it's like.
Yeah. I mean, UK it's nearly all small press at conventions. Yeah. It's small press holds up every single comic convention that doesn't do Broncos and fucking DeLoreans,
Yeah.
That's not a celebrity petting zoo.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it.
Well, the celebrities we've got access to are not the best. It's
some bloke from Red Dwarf again.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that.
Come on, you guys have some great British stars over there.
Yeah, don't usually go to those cons though.
Where we steal all our television from. We go, that was a bit of
To be fair, I'm doing one in September where fingers crossed we've got Carolyn Monroe at it. So probably me and her will be dating.
I mean, you and Carolyn Monroe, it's like you're stalking her.
Yeah.
It's just Doctor Who people, right? That's all you get over there.
Bit of Red Dwarf. Of course, a bit of Game of Thrones.
Primeval.
Shit, fucking Primeval. If that bloke turns up at another convention, I'm going to scream.
Oh, let's not do it.
Colin Baker goes to virtually every single one, doesn't he?
I don't know if you know this, Aaron, but I found a picture of Colin Baker the other day, and it wasn't signed. So,
wow, is that worth more?
That's worth a few quid.
I always love that because part of the convention thing is like so many pros have started like charging for their autograph.
Yeah.
Which I understand if someone brings you a huge stack of the same book. Like, obviously they're CGC grading them and they're gonna they need to make money off of it. So I have no problem with saying like I'll sign this many free and then I'm gonna charge you this much per book, so that you're getting a little piece of that action. But like when it's just a fan that just brings you a single book and you're like $20.
Yeah, come on.
Like, I don't agree with that at all. You bought my book. I owe you a signature.
Yeah.
So people will come up and they'll be like, "Oh, how much for an autograph?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "It's free." And then I laugh and I go, "My signature is not worth anything."
we managed to get Don McGregor over to a convention over here a few years ago, and everyone who came to his table, he wouldn't just sign things; he'd make you sit down and talk to you about stuff. And I thought, what a fucking gent! That's what you want.
Nice.
That's why we're coming here to see these legends. Yeah.
Don Rosa does that as well. Famous Disney Duck artist.
Nice.
He always has a chair. Right,
yeah, he does, doesn't he? I've seen that.
Yeah.
He did Heroes a few years ago when I was there, and he was like that. Yeah. The only problem is the queue is a long queue. Yeah. And you stand in it forever. But you do look like
he's got peppers from his garden on his table, so it's like everybody wants a pepper.
I think I told that story about David Hasselhoff. My friend had a Knight Rider annual when he was over here, and he got him to sign it, and he said, "I better not find that on eBay."
No, it's nice when people, especially when people say like, because I always ask, do you want it personalized? And people say yes, it's for them or it's for loved ones, because they're not gonna go pop it on eBay going like, I sure hope a Dolores wants this copy of Darkwing Duck.
We got a bit out of control when because very occasionally people ask us to sign our books at tables, and we got a bit out of control about me writing things about Vince in the comics.
Yeah, that was a.
The amount of people out there have got an anthology that says Vince sucks goats.
Yeah, something about goats. There was lots of,
I'll put quotes on like one of the things that I started doing with Silvani, because Silvani can do a little doodle for you. It's like, hey, he signs your book and here's a little remark of a character, and he can do that in seconds. And I can draw some of the Darkwing characters, so I would sometimes do that too. But I would always try to give people like a different "I am the terror that flaps in the night." So if you come up before I sign it, I'm gonna write something like, I am the broken lock on the, bathroom stall of crime. Just something like that. I'm gonna give you, something along those lines. And
nice.
people have actually had me sign like their Darkwing Funko Pops. And
nice.
And so like I always do like the word balloon, with a little quote from Darkwing and then sign it.
Good stuff. That's kind of almost like you're known for that character, aren't you? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I think that's probably the character that I'm most associated with.
And did that come from you being an editor? It was Boom, wasn't it? And is that how you sort of led you into Darkwing Duck, or is it which came first?
Well, the Boom, I was a big fan of the show when it was on. My brother and I, we would watch the whole Disney afternoon. We were super into it. And Darkwing resonated with me because I was also a superhero fan. So it's like, I watched I love DuckTales and I love the old Carl Barks comics and things like that. But Darkwing was on another level because it was like Disney Ducks, which I already liked, and superheroes. And it was very much a pastiche of like the Silver Age and the old noir comics. People always say that he's Batman, but really Darkwing is based more on the Shadow than
I was going to say the Shadow. Yeah.
And so I was a huge fan of it. And when the show went off the air, like in my idle time, I would sit around and I would think of like, man, if I ever got a chance to like do a Darkwing Duck comic book, this is what I would do. I would call it the Duck Knight Returns. I would set it like a year after the show, and kind of like pick up and tell a new story. And so I had and I could already see the cover of him with the lightning bolt, just like the classic Miller book. It's like I already had all that in my head. And so I was working for a company called Toy Rocket, which was an online toy retailer. It was the second biggest, like right behind Big Bad Toy Store. And through various malfeasance of the owner, he owned a business with his wife, and then he started cheating on his wife with an employee, and everything. The business was falling apart, and everything was going to hell, and it was a really awful work environment. And Boom had like tried to headhunt me a couple of times because I'd worked at Tokyo Pop. And so I reached out and I said like, hey, things where I'm at are getting really contentious. is there anything available? And they said, yes, come in for an interview, on Monday. And so I left Toy Rocket on Friday, went in for an interview on Monday, and they said, during the interview, they were like, we have what we want you to work on is we have the Disney license and the Pixar license and the Muppets license. And I was like, well, what do you have with the Disney license? What does that entail? And they were like, all the standards characters. And I was like, does that include Darkwing Duck? And they were like, what is,
did you? Was that the first one you asked about?
That was the first one I asked.
Amazing.
Yeah, when they told me what the job was, I was like, does that include Darkwing Duck? And they were like, what is that? And so I had to explain to them what Darkwing Duck was. And I spent the next several months trying to get them to greenlight a Darkwing Duck book, and I kept getting put off. And then finally, I don't know if it was because their like Mickey Mouse initiative that I told them wasn't going to work didn't work, or it was just to shut me up. But they said, fine, you can have a 4-issue Darkwing Duck series. You do a limited series. And so we went to Seattle for the con up there, Emerald City. And I was on the Boom panel, and I was going to talk about the Boom Kids stuff because I was the Boom Kids editor. And so, I'm on the panel, and Wade's talking about Irredeemable, and there's some interest. There's some interest in that in the room. But what got me was the way that we had done the presentation was we were going to open the kids panel with just the lightning bolt, and it just said "Boom gets dangerous" in the Darkwing plot. And nice. So that went up on the screen, and there was a gasp like through the room, like they dared not hope. And the moment they did that, because I fought so hard to get it done, and they didn't want to do it because they didn't believe in it. Like I was flat out told by Ross Ritchie, I don't know, that sounds like a nostalgia play. I don't really think that there's any money in that. And when
comics is a nostalgia medium, isn't it?
Till 2000 AD, that yeah.
By the way, later they saved their company numerous times by relying on nostalgia by getting licenses like the Power Rangers. And they tried really hard to get Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles has always been relevant, but that gasp went through the room, and I wish it was on video because I know that I just I looked down because I didn't want to smile like told you so.
Yeah.
But at the same time that we announced it at the panel, the press release was sent out and started popping up on websites. And so while I'm doing the panel, my assistant editors are sending me in real time things that people are saying online. Like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. Nice. And how excited people were. And so it ended up being the best thing that, the best title that Boom had done under their kids line is that the number 1 numbers came back. And through various shenanigans, I won't go into the whole story, but I had just been up to Pixar and saved the business with Pixar because Pixar was very upset with Boom about numerous things. And so I went up and had a creative meeting with them and worked out all this creative for the next year with Pixar. And they were super happy and super impressed. Saved that business. Was even told by Ross that I did a great job. I saved that portion of the business because they were ready to pull the license at that point. And then a week later, after I had laid out, because Darkwing numbers had come back and it was we're going to do an ongoing, where do you see it going? And I had laid out this roadmap for where it would go because I wasn't being allowed to write it.
Right.
And I'll get into that per se. But I laid out this roadmap, and then 1 week after saving the Pixar business, having the best success that Boom Kids had ever had, they fired me a week later.
No.
Yeah. And took all my story ideas and used them. But took my name off the book after a few issues, and it just started this huge war. And I was still being supportive of the book because I wanted people to read it. And then I got told by the marketing guy, we'd really prefer if you didn't talk about the book. I'm like, well, I'd really prefer if you guys didn't badmouth me to behind my back, but you're doing it, so I'm going to say whatever the hell I want. And by the way, I never signed an NDA, so suck it. And
there's nothing stranger than comics, mate, is there? It really ain't.
No, and here was the really lame thing. When I came into Boom, I was the only editor there that had been published outside of Boom.
Right.
And so when I said I want to do this Darkwing series, and I was told, well, you're the editor of the Boom Kids line, you can't write it. And besides, you haven't really made your bones. I was like, I've published. I'm already published. Yeah. No, nobody here is published outside of this company. I've done work outside of this company and been published. So that was a thorn in my side. So, I knew I had the story idea, and I was looking at I talked to Jesse Snyder about it. I actually looked at Neon, from Clownfish TV, because I found a pitch that he had done or some stuff that he had pitched at Gemstone doing Darkwing, and I was like, I wonder if like this is the guy. Like I could go to him and we could do he could like, I'll give him my outlines and he can write the scripts, and then I'll get to edit it anyway, so it ultimately will be kind of like me writing it in a way. And so that was kind of like my plan. And you can talk to Jesse Blaze Snyder about this too. Like I actually approached him at one point. Can you get this done with me? And then one of the other editors, Ian Brill, came to me and he was like, well, I'd really like to throw my hat in the ring and work on this with you. And I thought, okay, well, ultimately I'll have like final say on everything as the editor, so it'll be pretty true to my vision, and it'll get his name on a book, and so I thought I'd be nice and we would do that, and that ended up being just one of the knives that stabbed me in the back.
Mate, sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Fortunately,
that
I got
sucks.
to keep. Fortunately, like they were so unhappy with what Ian was turning in after I was gone, even working off of my outlines, that they asked Silvani to like co-write the book. And so Silvani reached out to me and he's like, I don't know what to do. This is like, you put me on, he's like, you put me on this book, and it kind of like saved my career. He's like, because I didn't have any comic work, and I was like, oh, maybe this isn't the road to pursue. Maybe I need to be out of art altogether, which would just be such a shame because he's a great artist. And so I told him, I said, okay, I'll ghostwrite it,
Wow. Okay.
But when all is said and done, we get to talk about the fact that I ghostwrote it. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. So it was just like a constant kind of like back and forth, because I'd turn in like a really good script, and then, because I had no actual control, Ian would rewrite dialogue and strip things out and make things unfunny and out of character. And so the book came out and people were still like somewhat on board. But when the license went to Joe Books and they wanted to reprint that material, Disney Publishing actually said to them, you need to restore the original scripts. Like go to Sparrow and Silvani, and we'd like to see this restored with the original script. So we got to go back in. We got to do, finally the book came out as the Definitively Dangerous edition, and that was the true like representation of what we wanted to do. There was still a couple.
Because I remember 11 o'clock comics were raving about it. There's always sort of, I remember it being like super popular when it kicked off. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did big numbers, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it did really big numbers for Boom. If you want to break it down, the amount of first issues that Dynamite sold of Darkwing Duck, if you cut that down to the number of covers that Boom offered versus the 80 to 100 that Dynamite offered, we actually did better.
Right. It's difficult to do a sort of sexy cosplay girl cover, isn't it, at Dynamite? They must have thought about it for Darkwing Duck. How do we get boobs into that?
I guess there's plenty of people that are into sexy ducks. They could have
sure.
gone.
Wow.
But...
Well, you say that now. I will have to take a word for that there, Aaron.
I've seen the furry community online. I know what I've been lambasted by some of them because I didn't make Quacker Jack and Megabolt a couple. I didn't honor their ship. But like my response to that is, well, they weren't a couple in the show, so I didn't make them a couple of the comics. I wasn't there to I wasn't there to kind of like present my own. I don't like when.
In the words of Alan Partridge, sex people.
That's shocking that something that isn't canonically a couple, someone asking for it to be a couple.
How weird.
That's weird. That never happens in comics.
Bucky and Captain America. Yeah. There's people who live for that shit, though, aren't they? It just grips them. They just got to talk about it all the time.
Yes.
Go write your fanfic.
No one's stopping you.
More power to you. Like I'm not hating on you. Go do your own thing.
Yeah.
Don't expect that I'm going to honor your fanfic.
No.
Or that my story is going to be your fanfic.
Yeah.
Hey, this company hired me to write my fanfic.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You get a job if you want to write your fanfic. Ain't gonna be me.
Yeah.
I think it was Frank Angonis who worked on DuckTales 2017 who told me at the end of the day we're all just trying to get major corporations to recognize our fanfic.
It's true, isn't it? Isn't it true? Yeah.
So wise. I wonder what fanfic there'll be of Doomface in the future.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm already like worried. Like that's when you know that you've made it, thoh, right? It's like when you find
Skeletor and Doomface post-coital.
This
is that coming?
Yeah.
I remember when I was looking for reference to send Silvani for the different Darkwing characters. Because we didn't have model sheets or anything like that till much later when Tad like dug some out of his archives. And I was looking online and I punched in reference for Goslin without putting safe search on. and I regret that to this day. Like there's images that came up on my screen that like are burned into the back of my eyeballs.
Never look up Gary Oldman and misspell Gary.
Oh no!
A fucking massive issue.
Oh dear.
Brady old man. What is it? Oh
yeah. Oh god. But in terms of like, if we just go back to, there's a question I wanted to ask about writing Doomface, which I think, because this has, like all great sort of parody sort of books, it's something that comes from a sort of it's a love for what it is influenced by, and therefore it treats it with respect, because you can always tell when it's just a joke it falls flat, but when it treats it like it's genuine, it's always the best, which is what Doomface does. But you're writing something about a villain, and obviously the comedy can go throughout, much like we have in the Tick. Like you say, that things like the Tick, the jokes come thick and fast. But one thing that a villain has to also be is a threat and a menace. And I think some of the things that we see, especially when the villains become popular within the wider culture, they become more of a joke and they're less of a villain. So what was your key to keep making sure that Doomface is
a threat,
a bad guy, a genuine threat?
The interesting thing is that he will do villainous things, but they will ultimately, sometimes they will backfire on him in that the public will be very much in support of what he's just done. And then that angers him, because it's like, no, everyone is supposed to hate me. I'm supposed to be reviled. They're supposed to fear, and but there's some stuff coming up in the comic. Like you guys, there's a level of violence in the comic that I think is on par with Invincible.
Yeah,
awesome. I was going to say that sort of I was going to compare it to Battle Beast. I was going to say there's a little bit of that about it for me somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a huge compliment. Thank you. So and there's something coming up in a future book, a confrontation that I think is, because we're going to see Doomface kind of trying to adjust to the modern world, and obviously his mind is not in mint condition, as they say, since being trapped in the void. So he is a little bit more prone to, he's kind of gotten into his own psychosis. So all of the villainous things, he's definitely more prone to monologuing, to to flying off the handle at ridiculous things, petty annoyances. Now he's got much more of a hair trigger than he used to. But there is a,
do you have to be careful with that though, because the classic man out of time trope, do you know what I mean? It is that, it's a play on that sort of thing. But obviously with a villain, you maybe have to be careful not to take it too far. If they've come in for a time where they could, you've got to be careful about what a villain necessarily says, haven't you? They've got to be a villain.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that.
But but at the same time, I mean, if they're a real villain, we'd never have any language in any comic from any of the villains.
Yeah, I know.
Because they'd all be the worst people in the world.
You'd get cancelled immediately, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
They confuse you with the character in your comic.
So
and
trying to find that tone of voice, is it easier to go in the more comedic route?
I've been cancelled so many times now.
Thank you, so have I. Yeah.
I don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
We've actually got 2 men at a time in the comic book, because you've got Doomface, who's been missing for over 40 years, and then we have Colonel Silverstreak, who gets every time the government's done with an assignment for him, they put him back into cryo. And so every time he comes out, he's still the same, like a Lee or like a Peckinpah, a Sam Peckinpah,
cigar chomping,
or a Lee Marvin type, where if you just took them out of time and you plopped them into the movie industry today, they'd be incredibly offensive and no one could work with them, because and that's kind of how Colonel Silverstreak is. That's why the sticker that we offered with the campaign for his says it's time to retoxify masculinity. So there's definitely things that are going to be in the book that are going to, if you're a sensitive snowflake, either on the right or the left, there's probably something in there that's going to get under your skin. But that's the idea. The idea is I want to be able to parody everything. I want to be able to do a very South Park kind of broad, double buckshot kind of, and just make fun of things that I think are silly, or I think that are worthy.
Yeah, I like that attitude. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think if you just lean one way and make fun of that, it polarizes. It's nonsense. I think everyone's got to be a target.
Everyone's
up like that.
Yep.
Yeah. Definitely.
So what is the future for Doomface, like, you know, how far do you see this go? I know you're constantly, the series is getting longer. What was it, 120 issues now that you've planned, based on what you said? But what is the immediate over the next couple of years? What are we going to see?
I really want to do a Christmas special. I have a Christmas story in mind that I think would be hysterical. Obviously, as soon as we get the books back and we start fulfilling issue 1, we're going to launch the campaign for issue 2, which is halfway through inks already.
Awesome.
So the plan is, and if we continue to, see an increase in kind of like the backers and the people that are coming in and the amount of money that the campaign makes, the goal is to get to a point where we have made enough to where the book is done when we launch the campaign.
Good.
So
yeah.
As soon as
it's a great place to be in, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is, and that's always been the goal. It's like I never want to be a campaign that's like, a year late, 2 years late. People are asking like, is this book happening? Like, what are you doing? And also to keep Renzo working, I need to be on top of it. I need to be continually producing. I want him to have steady employment with no gaps. So, and I want that for Oscar. Anybody who works on my team, I want to know that they can kind of like count on getting that money coming in, to do that work. So, I think that that's hugely important, and it's obviously important to build trust with your readers, with your customers, the people that are buying the book. And I'm so excited about the story. I want it out. Like,
Good, yeah.
you guys got to read issue 1. I've been living with issue 1 so long. I'm bored with issue 1.
Yeah.
Issue 3,
Oh yeah.
I'm still excited about 2 because I'm still getting pages from Renzo, so I get to see how he's like, how it's all coming together. I'm still super excited about 2, but 3, 4, I'm thinking about 6. There's a big, if everything paces out correctly, there is a big event in 6 that I think will really shock people, and it's something that I imagined in animated form, but I think I can pull it off. With Renzo's talent, I think we can pull it off on the comic.
Awesome.
As a comic, yeah. Oh, nice work, man. Yeah,
that's
cool.
Amazing. So when you plan these books out, obviously you have the fully scripted ones. What is it like? Like issue 5 and 6? Is that currently just like a paragraph, like a synopsis? Yeah,
just a paragraph, and then a couple of like little character exchanges that I already know will be in there. Because often, when I'm doing something else, my mind is like, my subconscious mind is kind of left. Yeah. I'll think of like dialogue, or I'll think of a scene, and I'll be like, oh, and I got to type that into my phone so that I remember it. Because you always go, oh, I'll remember that later. You won't. Like, write everything down. And when you have an idea,
talk about that all
the
time, man. Yeah,
we talk about that.
I dictate into even when I'm driving, a couple of hours in the car, I'll dictate. I've got pages of just like 3 sentences, like loads of different notes of stuff that because I know I'll forget them immediately.
Yeah,
they leave my brain immediately. Yeah.
So there's a whole scene with Lexi and Doomface where it's because their relationship is interesting, because she's the only one who can really talk back to him and not be immediately destroyed for it. and so she's got kind of like a sassy attitude with him. But there's a sequence in the upcoming book where like she says something and it sets him off, and she's reminded of like who he is. Like, it's
right.
like, this is not someone that you can push infinitely.
Yeah. I love that though. Wait. Yeah, I love that especially with like villainous characters or tough characters in general in comics. We get to know them, and the more you get to know them, the softer they feel. The rounder the edges become on these characters. And I love it in stories when there's a moment of never forget that they could murder everyone in this room. Yeah. Just like that. Do you know what I mean? I love that sort of reinforcement of, oh, I forgot that's a bad guy. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I love moments.
They've got this in them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it ends. The page ends with him saying, like, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this. I am Doomface, and and you would do well to remember what that means. It's kind of like the,
What is it about putting face after a word that just makes it like a great comic book name?
Two-Face,
shit face.
Did you say shit face? There's a comic book character called that. There's bound to be. There's got to be.
It's probably a Mark Miller character, honestly.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Good point. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
So where can people find more about the issue and like get involved in it?
Oh, okay. So you can. There's kneelbeforedoomface.com, which is our online store. We've got some prints. We've got I think there's still a couple copies of the first cover appearance of Doomface available that I can ship out right away, or actually depending on when your order gets in. It might be after Comic-Con, but there's some stuff that you can get there. If you want the comic book, go to Kneel Before Doomface on Kickstarter. It's done by Crowd Control. Murphy is handling the.
Yeah, you can still buy a copy. I did that. That's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Even though the campaign was ended, you can still go and buy it if you see what I mean.
You can still late pledge, and then backer kit will be out, and you can choose, like, you can add on, you can do all of that stuff.
Oh, awesome.
So if you're like, man, I ordered this cover, but I'd really also like to get this cover, you'll have the opportunity to
get it there.
So and then once I think I was talking to Murphy last weekend because we were working on post-production stuff and backer kit. I think what we're gonna do, if I'm remembering what she said correctly, is that once the book is done and we send it off to print, we're going to send the digital copies out. So people will get their, everybody who backed a physical copy gets a digital copy. So they'll all get, one to read until their physical copy arrives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's sensible.
Yeah, I think you're right about doing that, man. I think because there's always this, like, why have they got a copy and I haven't? There's always that going on, isn't there? I think you got everyone at once, definitely.
Yeah. Sometimes you can wait till people start posting up. I've got my physical, and then it's like, right, hit send on the digitals.
Yeah, we've done that before.
Everyone's getting the same time. Yeah.
Really? I think people will appreciate that because then they'll get to read it.
Yes.
And it's not as fun as having it in your hand, but
no.
Yeah, you can always stick it in a board, in a bag with a board, and if
you always have the option of not reading the digital, but you still have it, and then just wait for the physical to turn up. So,
at least the book is done. You know it's finished. Like, here it is.
That's something in like crowdfunding today, isn't it? Actually, here's the book. Not everyone can make that claim.
There's something that we spoke on earlier. When people sort of get them graded and stuff like that, I have I'm old school. I've never done any of that grading. I don't understand it. Don't know that world. I know it is a world of doing it. But like when people do it with like brand new comics that are just off the shelf, I can't really get that because I always think we don't have.
It's just a money thing, man.
How is that valuable?
Yeah.
How is that valuable?
Because in a few years' time it will be valued. A slab comic is always much more.
But will it? Will it really?
Pretty much always, yeah. Slab comics are always worth a lot.
There has to be demand for it. Like, it has to be a book people want. Like either ironically or seriously. But if I saw a slabbed NFL Super Pro, would I buy it as a joke? I probably would. But it's like, this comic will never be worth anything. Nobody wants this. But there's people that just want that. They want a high grade of that book, for their collection. And,
I guess there's so many different sort of like lanes to this this hobby that we're in. Everything. That seems like it's almost too far from. I'm all about reading the comics. I'm all about getting the comics and reading.
The slabbing area at a lot of American conventions is pretty big. I know at Heroes is a massive old area.
Yeah.
New York has it as well. They always have that end of the room, don't they?
But there's also that people send their books away to be graded by someone else, so they're waiting on the behest of someone else judging how good that comic book is. I can't,
and I don't trust it.
No,
I don't trust it.
I know.
Because I don't know that I'm not sending in a 9.8, and they're going, "Ooh, this is a 9.8. Here's an 8.7 that we have. Let's send them that." Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that documentary series about the dude who finds out his dad had like his dad's basically got a safe room? And have you seen that series?
Is that when he's putting the whole collection up for auction?
Yeah, and they go through some real slabbing nightmares, damaged books, and they go full on slab. Yeah, wow. It's interesting. It's sort of almost like you find out how it goes.
Is that on?
It's on Prime. I'll get you the name. I'll get you the name. It's really good. Yeah.
I think I only own a couple of slab books.
I've only got one, and I did it for a laugh, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got like the first modern appearance of Captain America, like Avengers 4, signed by Stan Lee. I got that slab, and
nice.
And then I think I've got like Captain America 25 by Ed Brubaker. That was like a convention
exclusive. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's frozen.
Oh, he just froze.
Oh, you're back. Yeah.
Oh, right.
I've got when Shang-Chi came back, and it was. Do you remember when he came back and it was massive pile of dog shit because of the movie? I got one of the first issues slabbed, and I just thought did it for a laugh.
But the thing is, like for me, that signed one by Stan Lee, that one kind of, because almost like It's like putting it in a frame.
It's a
isn't it?
personal thing.
It's
Yeah.
like it's a collectible thing. I get that. It's just that. Please, listeners, explain it to me if you do it. I don't. I will never understand it.
No, man, each to their own. If people want to do that,
If
whatever,
people want
man,
to do it, it's their
not for
money,
me,
isn't it?
but
It's their money.
Yeah.
But they should
Their
be
money,
spending
Yeah,
that
like,
money.
am I gonna take
Buy more toys.
that Avengers 4 out and like read it? Like no, I'm not gonna do that. Like I'm gonna read it in a collection. I'm not.
You're going to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like a
that
proper
original.
fan, and
Yeah.
you're going to buy it 18 times in other formats. That's what
Yeah,
you're going to
yeah. You've already got that book several times. Come on, man.
I was saying that the other day. I was standing in the toy aisle and I was looking at an Optimus Prime figure and I was like, how many times am I gonna buy this damn character?
Yeah,
I've bought this character so many times in my life.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it again. Here I am doing it again.
That's the problem with like the 80s toy generation, and now we're in the generation of like there is so many versions of the same thing all the time. It's a new version. Optimus Prime's a perfect example of it. Do you know what I mean? When I was a kid, I had the original,
Yeah.
and now there's a million different versions of him.
Have you seen the Transformer movie ones though? They actually look and transform like they do in the animated movie, and it's like it doesn't look like Hot Rod where it used to just his arms can move up and down. It's actually like
Hot
fully-
Rod.
Yeah.
Loved Hot Rod.
They're
Yeah,
really
so that-
posable now. That's the thing. Like
Yeah.
every now and then, like people offer me like oh, don't you want to buy these like vintage ones? And I'm like, no. And they're
No.
like, but these are the ones like the one, or when they do like a retro thing and it's just the reproducing the original toy.
Yeah, no, I
It's
don't want
like,
that.
do I want to go buy that Starscream? No, I don't, because I have a better Starscream that's posable now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
whose arms can actually go up. He can actually do like
Yeah.
a firing pose, and
Yeah.
like that's way more important to me. Same thing with
Yeah.
like Masters of the Universe. They're doing the Origins line. They're a little more posable, but they're in the same kind of like sculpt design as the original toys. I've got better versions of those. I don't
Yeah.
need the retro one. I'm
Yeah.
not looking to go backwards.
Yeah.
I still can't believe there's a ROM action figure now. That made my day.
It's
Oh.
so good.
Isn't it good?
So good.
Yeah, I know.
Have you got
Yeah.
Fisto to hand, Tony? You've got.
The only Masters.
got-
He's
there you go.
I've
Yeah,
never
there
seen.
you go.
I've never seen Masters of the Universe because I'm a bit old for it. But I did have to buy Fisto.
yeah. I wonder why.
You couldn't fist them all, He-Man.
There's a little bit of a riff on the Fisto joke, the Fisto meme in the old Before Doomface #1.
Oh, okay.
Hey, there you go.
I know the panel you're talking about. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good stuff.
It's the book.
Good.
It's the book that keeps on giving.
Keeps
so,
giving, yeah.
So go and check it out. And where can people follow you, Aaron, and find out more about what you've got going on?
You can follow me on Twitter. It's just Aaron_Sparrow. If you want to see art, you can go follow me on Instagram. I post Doomface art and things that we're working on all the time. I'm waiting back on a cover right now. I'm really excited about. I think Renzo just like knocked it out of the park on this issue 2 cover, and I'm both like I can't wait to show it off, and I'm also wondering if I should hold it back.
Yeah.
those kind of decisions
Yeah.
that you have to make. But you can find me on Instagram, and then I am on Facebook. But if you message me on Facebook, you're probably not going to hear from me for a while because I rarely check Facebook.
Yeah, fair play.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool.
Fair.
Well, we hope all the
Stuff.
conventions go well, Aaron.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep us posted on all the new books.
Yeah. Let us know about the next
Yeah.
launch and all that sort of thing, and we'll give it a pimp. Yeah, please do.
Fantastic.
Because
Yeah.
listeners, we're all going to want to see more of Doomface.
I appreciate it. Like I said, we're really pouring our heart and souls into this book. I really want to craft characters that people are gonna, they're gonna resonate with people and they're gonna get invested in, and tell a big broad story. I've always been interested in telling like larger stories, and in the mainstream comic industry, you always get cut off before you get there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Indie comics is where it's at.
Ain't
and
that the truth?
And what you said there, that's what it's all about. So
yeah. So yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure, man.
Do you know what? I think I'm gonna have to read some Darkwing Duck.
Do you know what? Me too. I've never read it, but
Yeah.
it sounds.
I remember
yeah.
the animated show came out. I think just slightly after my Disney animated TV show sort of heyday, because I was like
Yeah.
DuckTales, Tailspin, all of that jazz. And Darkwing Duck, I think it was still on. I'm not that old, but well, I am. I feel ancient, but I think it was. I just missed out on the original ones, but I can totally see how like a cult.
I do remember seeing a little bit of it. It was on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen anything.
yeah.
No.
I did like the fact that before we started recording there, we all had a fucking me, you, and Aaron had just a rant about fucking the state of comics.
Yeah.
Not all comics, some comics.
No,
some
just
comics
X-Men
tight.
comics.
Some well,
For a few,
we're just going to call it out. Right.
Some of the stuff like you saw on Thinking Critical when they talk about the current titles, and it's just like, mate, what is this? It's terrible, awful stuff.
Well,
but we're not talking about awful comics in a minute, are we? We've got some Rex.
No, exactly. And we've got
I've got a lovely bit of live reading of a comic for you. You're going to enjoy.
Oh my god, that is both exciting, arousing, a little bit terrifying.
Arousing and terrifying always come together for me.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah, I was about
the
to
classic
say,
triumvirate.
A lot of coming together in the end. Oh god, what's happened to this week?
Well,
I think it's the humidity. It's really
It's very hot in here.
Yeah.
Let's take off our clothes.
Yeah. Calm down. I was about to say Usher, but it wasn't Usher, was it? What?
Who was it?
Go on, Dan.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not your connection to the youth.
My musical taste. My musical tastes ended when the band split up.
But we'll never split up, and we're going to keep talking about comics. But before then, what shout-outs have we got this week, gents?
I've got a few. In fact, I've got quite a few. Don't forget that American Nature 3 is now out for pre-order. It's an extra-sized issue, actually, with a piece by me. It is with some absolutely gorgeous spot illustrations by Mr. Cumber. Speaking of Keith, thanks to Cliff Cumber, aka Keith, for his back. You know, we talked about the Bash Streets kids last week. Did you see the two he's done?
Yeah,
they're amazing.
Amazing.
My god!
Yeah.
Love
it.
If you join the Slack community now, will you be able to see that? You will be able to see the older stuff. Can you see?
We can always get him to repost it, can't we?
Yeah.
But
he only done it the past couple of days, so it'll be there.
Yeah, he's done it as the Bash Street kids become assassins. Yeah. So one's become like a ninja.
Give the context to this, Tony, for anyone who didn't.
So if you didn't listen last week, we did like double bills, and I said good comics double bill with the Bash Street kids followed by Deadly Class. So you can imagine the Bash Street kids would all become assassins, and Cliff has drawn Plug as a ninja. And what's the name of the one he's done as, like the machine cyborg from the Eliminators movie.
The Eliminators, yeah.
Yeah, he's drawn one as that, yeah.
Wasn't that fella that always had the jumper up around his nose?
Yeah.
I can't remember the character's names.
Yeah, it's really good. DUI 4 is off and rolling. Who can believe it? We're back on. Simon Russell is editing this one. Thanks, Simon. And looking for short stories, preferably in black and white at the moment. You can contact Simon through his website, simonrussell.website. He's on Insta. He's Simon_Boing. But the best way I would say to join and get involved in it is to join the Slack. Just reach out to any of us. And you can get on the DUI 4, drawn under the influence, that stands for anyone who's new to this. And we'll hook you up. Just reach out and we'll get you on the channel. And it's a great place to be. Very positive. Great comics chat. It has been absolutely difficult and crazy to keep up with this week. There's loads of stuff going on there, which is just lovely to see.
I said it before, but people have different opinions, and that's fine.
I think it Simon himself the other day who said it shows how great this is that we managed to have a discussion and a disagreement, and yet we're still mates.
Just move on.
Yeah.
It's such a kind of recent idea of having you don't think exactly the same as me, so we can't talk anymore.
Yeah, no.
So that's only a new idea. Like
it's just crazy.
You don't get this far along in humanity without kind of learning how to resolve disputes.
Yeah, I know.
Over if you like a Superman.
The thing is, we have these. Just to let you know, listeners, we have these sort of discussions on our own personal sort of WhatsApps and stuff like that as well.
We don't agree with everything.
Yeah. In fact, earlier this week, and I'm not going to, shout out anything. There was a cover discussion that happened, and my lovely co-hosts here, they didn't like it. I quite liked it. It was just one of those, but there was a discourse. I didn't think.
Yeah,
well, they
we
don't
didn't
know
go. Oh, you're a proper James Hunt for not liking that. It was none of that, was there?
Yeah, it was like, I saw.
It's fair.
I could see where they're coming from. But I quite like it.
No. Fair.
Yes, respect. That's what comics should be about, and there's not enough.
ESPCT.
How can everyone agree with stuff at all times? It's impossible.
I agree.
It's madness.
I agree.
I don't agree, you wankers. You're not coming to my house, right? Okay, so what is one of the best comics Patreons out there? I will argue that Zach Cahill's is.
Oh, it's lovely. Got to do that.
Love Zach stuff.
Omega Black Volume 2 has started coming out today. I think is it 6 pages he put out? Was it today or yesterday?
I've got to jump on this. I'll have a look at this while we're recording.
I loved Volume 1 of Omega Black. In fact, I wrote the intro to the trade. I was really chuffed that he so he basically covered. I think we both had quite a few drinks, and he said you're going to write it, and I said, yeah, but I don't want pay. And he said, I knew you'd say that, so I've already donated money to Mind. I went, okay, good boy. Yeah, so get on it. I can see if we did a double bill with some of your comics, Dan. I can see.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that would be a
Me
valuable
and Zach
double
are
bill.
very similar. Those guys. His comics are very kind of 80s, 90s action film.
Yeah.
He said
But
the other
just
day,
a slightly different art style from yours, I'm going to say. Yeah.
He said Double Teen's one of the best films ever, and well, I don't agree with that. I can respect that opinion.
I actually stopped breathing for a moment when I read that bit. I was like, really? But fair play.
Go and get on his Patreon. Genuinely, he's one of the most interesting indie small press artists out there at the moment. Speaking of artists and writers, Pulp is a new anthology put out by the Shift crew, and it's also going to be in 88 Smiths. It reprints a lot of small press content that we have discussed literally over the years here. Almost goes back to the start of the pod. So a couple of the highlights are Flesh and Blood by Simon Lewis and Chris Geary, which is a really worth your time. Fan of Chris's work. I met him at Convention and a couple other places, and he knows what he's doing. His art reminds me a little of Johnny Cannon. There's a little bit there, some of that sort of they know what they're doing. Bet Noir by Andrew Clemson and Chris Wantawai. Obviously, we spoke to Andy. We had Andy on the show. Griff Gristle by Rob Jones, Michael Sandbrook, and Rory Donald as well, who've all been guests and all friends of the show. And it's 135 pages. It's only $7.99. It's A5 black and white. There is a colour version I think you can get as well, coming out soon as well. But I think the one that's going to be on newsstands. Isn't that great to say?
Yeah.
The comic that's going to be in newsagents. That's what we want to hear.
99.999% of the people that pick that up in newsagent won't have seen it before. Like you're hoping for that audience, so I hope it gets into their hands.
Yeah. There's a little bit of that with American Nature as well. It's kind of got that feel about it'll be in head shops maybe and stuff like that as well, which is good. Okay, anyway, they're my ones.
Dan, what have you got?
I've got a couple of Kickstarters. Well, I've got 3 Kickstarters, not a couple. Now that's what I call Turning Tricks 4, a comic about a perpetually thirsty waitress and a quest to get laid in a galaxy on the brink of war. I can tell I'm hot because I've reread that as thirsty and I need a drink. We've got Blam and Glam, sci-fi comic issues 1 to 11. New hit issue of the hit comic sci-fi series set in an alternative 2020-2021 where a woman with amnesia battles demonic mecha monsters. So if you want to talk about doing a sequentially running series on Kickstarter, look no farther than Richard Morgan. I mean, he's fucking bringing the noise there.
He is the daddy. Yeah.
And I did have one more, but it's gone elusive on me.
Can I jump in with something?
Sure.
I'm behind the scenes on Hellbreaker. I'm proud to say, with Pat and Ian Ashcroft, and I just saw some of the art for it.
Lovely stuff.
Fuck me. In fact, that was my reply to it. Fuck me, dude.
Really?
Yeah, they're absolutely incredible. Best thing. Ian's a geezer, but it's some of the best things I've seen from him ever.
Most of our pull quotes are on backs of books, like fucking hell and wow.
Yeah. Mate, this is just next level stuff from him.
Yeah. I think at some point, but I don't know how to read on the back of a book. When you see a book and you think, oh, fuck off. Because it's so good. But if you read that in the back of printed on the back of a comic, it'll just come out as adversarial.
Maybe if you did it in italics or something, it might read.
Yeah.
Right, and last one, Fabled 4 remake, the not safe for work dark comedy adventure is born again by our friend Jamie Mee. Smashed his target, as do most of his books. There's a whole selection of not safe for work covers. If that's your fancy, you can have that itch scratched.
Nice.
Yes, that's me. Done.
And one shout I've got because the pod got a lovely message from a friend of the show who we haven't heard of for a little bit, but has been just working non-stop.
I can't wait to see this, man.
The wonderful Steve Sims, who is busy being a full-time illustrator anyway, but whenever he finds the time, he's still working on Beast Hunting Battle Badgers, which... If you haven't heard of that comic, I mean, I've got a hardcover on my shelf that is just one of the best
I love that
ever.
book. Yeah.
And he's like a lot of our favourites. He's just plugging away, just making his book, and more people need to know about it. I think possibly in the future maybe we'll have a little episode where we can re-shine a light on some people who don't. You know, we were talking about the difficulties of getting your book out there or shouting, and I think there's a lot of artists. I think artists, especially sometimes, when they're just beaving away on their book, that's where they're the happiest. But then when they've got to take that and then try and sell it, there's a lot of artists who it's quite difficult for them to then go out and try and, you know, especially if you're a solo writer, artist, sort of creative. But if you Beast Hunting Battle Badgers, remember that name, type it into Google, look it up, and you won't turn back.
No, that's fantastic.
We got, and also he does like original pencil pages that we got a little glimpse of, and they are.
I got a Shang-Chi versus Man-Thing piece he did for me. It's fucking amazing.
They're just absolutely beautiful work. So just want to give him a shout. And if you're listening, Steve, hello.
I did a great NIA with him where he talked it like in super detail. It's almost like definitive Usagi.
Oh,
you want to know about the Usagi?
Yeah,
he came on and talked about it.
He's one of those. I remember we were at Lawless when I tabled at Lawless that time. He was sat near us. I think with Tom Curry was there, and there was a lot of Usagi chat. This is before I had even scratched the surface of Mr. Yojimbo.
Yes.
And I was like, wow. It was one of those conversations where about two people talking in depth about a subject that you have no concept of, and yet you're like, I really do need to.
I like podcasts like that. I listened to a load of stuff recently. It was about movies I'd never heard of and stuff, and it was just really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as there's no spoilers. Just like there'll be no spoilers. Wow. I mean, there'll be some discussion about some comics that you should check out.
Yeah.
For a segue, that wasn't too bad, was it?
That's pretty good.
Like always, I won't remember how I did it, but by the time I finish recording. But we've got plenty of comic books to talk about now. Tony, do you want to kick us off?
My first one is from my buddy. So, Reluctant Sadist #9, Bigfoot issue by Hal Weaver. Dude's not normal.
Excellent.
I appreciate everything he does. You may be hearing more about this very soon. Actually, there's a lovely history to this book, but it's 5 money units. It says on the cover. That's quite good, isn't it? Quite good value. It features this sort of, the cover's got this sort of heavy-browed kind of creature with almost a little bit sort of Maori-esque kind of design.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
And I think that's a shaved Bigfoot. That's my theory. Don't know. We might be able to ask him about it at some point. It's black and white A5 collection of stories, all with strange subjects, different takes on each thing. The intro page talks about Hal's belief in the Bigfoot phenomenon and how people who don't believe it are sad, cynical people. And he makes the point that it's a hard time for dreamers at the moment, and I'll make him right on that. Probably my favourite bit of the whole magazine is the opener, which is it's a comic called If You Go Into the Woods, right? And it's about people he hates that go into the woods. So if you go into the woods, if you go into the woods and wear sandals and socks and throw the litter on the ground and play the harmonica very badly, these are people that obviously he has come across and give him the irk. And talk loudly on a speakerphone and hunt the bunnies and make the poop and don't bury it and wear baseball caps backwards and use your hand to block the sun and wear stinky perfume and release foil balloons and try to be an influencer, then Blind Bigfoot will beat your ass. And I thought that was good. And he also included a postcard of Blind Bigfoot beating someone's ass.
That's quite a specific list there. I can imagine that's drawn from real life.
I think that may be things that have annoyed Hal. Yeah.
To be fair, they are annoying what he said there. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I agree with his choices there. There's a short illustrated piece about how he's wrestling, why in 1985 he originally called his comic Reluctant Sadist. So we may find that out as well at some point. And then we get a 2-page comic about what it's really like to be a Bigfoot. Catch me if you can, you dipshits. There's a sort of existential attention-seeking, maybe it's you. This sort of strange abstracty thing about me, no, you. It's an interesting piece, actually. It's kind of a lot of Hal, but I could see that Gareth Hopkins would go, I get this as well. Kind of like it. It's very sort of abstracty. We get the welcome return of Respecto, who's a character I liked that he did in Ugly Mug magazine. And he's asking why no one gives him Respecto. He's like a little wood creature from a tribe in the Congo, this character, and he sort of wanders about the page. It's very strange. There's some more Bigfoot on the back cover. He sent me a couple of great postcards, along with a note from where he lives in Riga. And it's nice to get. My missus went, we're getting from Riga now. For fuck's sake, don't look at my mail.
No,
And
yeah. Bad as we transfer.
or wee transfer, as we call it. Yeah, there's nothing out there like this. I'm going to say definitely not. It's very individual, and it's a fun, good read. You can find Hal on Instagram at WeaverWorks, WERX at the end, WeaverWorks, or the website weaverworks.blogspot.com, and you can find him on X at WeaverWorks, and on Blue Sky, weaverworks.bsky.social if you're on Blue Sky and you're a massive loser. But there you go. That's my first one.
Nice.
Reluctant Sadist number 9.
Nice.
Yeah,
Dan,
good.
what's yours?
I've got the Skullfucker, issue 4/6 by Warwick, Fraser, Combe. We've reviewed or recommended all the 3 previous issues, haven't we?
Yeah, we've enjoyed them.
Blogs.
Yeah,
He's
a class act.
Yeah, he sent this in. It's challenging, man. It's a real kind of, like all the previous ones, there's some real kind of adult themes in this book. It continues the continuing story of Max, the kind of corrupt, dodgy journalist, and this sort of case he's trying to get to the bottom of. I don't know if you recall, in the first issue, he takes some of the drugs that he gets sent, and from then on, it's like existence, in as much that the reality in the world he's seeing around him breaking down because of this drugs, is that real, or is that just what he's perceiving? And it blurs. You couldn't tell at times, because he does see these creatures or people that look like they've come straight out of John Carpenter's The Thing, and they're doing stuff to him, and it's like, have they got 3 arms, or is he just imagining that? But the characters in it are absolutely morally corrupt and bent. It's a real adult comic, and the visuals are so striking, and the hand creatures in it, like there's one moment where he's tripping, he gets into a lift, and so all these fingers and tentacles start poking out of like the elevator lift buttons, like you get in like multi-story car parks. There's those kind of like the big silvery buttons with fingers poking out. It's a real blast. I can't really talk too much about spoiling the story, and you really need to kind of be checking out for yourself. And you can do so at Warwick's site, which I did have on my thing here, and I bloody shut it down. So if you can just filibuster for a second, chaps.
He puts so much effort into his art. I think it does look nice, actually. Yeah, it's on point at the moment. Definitely.
Yeah,
we've got. If you
it's
go
sort
to
of perfect length at the moment. I'm pleased with the length at the moment.
Well, that's what I've always said about you.
The chocolate waterfall.
Good length.
Warwick, Fraser, Combe.bigcartel.com. You can buy all the back issues. It's like a $5 for a comic. It's got a free double-sided centerfold pin up.
Worth checking out.
It's also got Revenger on there, which is one of my fucking absolute
that's
favorites.
good.
Love that. Friendly Fire. Just go and check out his stuff. You can also find him on Instagram. You'll see he's working in 2000 AD. He's done work for that. Is that right?
At last. Yeah.
It's a real punchy style. I struggle to kind of define it. There's a combination of kind of drawing, graphic assets. It's
hard realism.
Yeah. It's really something else. It has to, like the Matrix, has to be.
There's a little bit of Strange Haven for me as well, if you've ever read that. Yeah, it reminds me a bit of that. Yeah,
I can see a bit of that, and there's loads of boobs in it as well, which is top. So great, it's absolutely great stuff. Go check it out. WarwickFraserCombe.bigcartel.com.
Nice.
Buy issue 4 now.
Nice. Well, I've got I've done a bunch of number 2s. No, basically I've got a couple of titles that I'm just going to run through, because rather than issue 1s, I caught up on a couple of titles this week, and they all seem to be issue 2s. The last one of which might tie into a book I believe you're going to talk about, Tony. I think it'll run into that. Are you going to talk about that?
I can mention it. Yeah,
Can
that's
mention
fine.
it. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll lead into that. A brief mention on that. So basically, if you listen to the show, you know I've been checking. I always like checking out number one. So here's number two. The first off, I was a fashion school serial killer. This is I think they're all of these. They're 3 Image books that I'm currently loving at the moment. This one's a story by Doug Wagner, Daniel Hilliard on art. These are the guys that do vinyl, plastic, and just everything in general. Like all their other books are sick, twisted, dark tales of serial killers that become the heroes of the story. This one a little bit different to the other one. It's all about a girl called Rennie Bathory who's in New York City's most prestigious fashion school, and she makes fashion out of people she kills. And she's got her own sort of character quirks. This one felt a little different. I will also say Michelle Madsen is on the colour and Ed Dukeshire is on the letters. I think that's the crew that normally they it's the same crew that always work on these titles. This one, whereas like what was it? Plastic, vinyl. What was the one about the plush? Plush, that was the other one, wasn't it? Yeah. That sort of trilogy and that sort of universe. This one is what. Even if they might say it's in the same universe, it feels slightly just left of it. In issue 2, the main character, who is obviously an introvert, is getting to know some people and getting closer to some people, which is both maybe a danger. Maybe those people are safer, but it also means that other people are more in danger, because as soon as someone upsets her new friends, they're not long for this world. Not safe for work. You know, if you don't like books about serial killers skinning people and sitting in baths of blood, it won't be for you. But Wagner, Hilliard, and the crew, I just love their tone of voice in it, and it's not dark and gritty. It's quite a colourful book. Hilliard also has that wonderful Ryan Otley sort of blood. You know when it's like thick paint. Do you know what I mean? When you see it on the page dripping everywhere. I just love that effect. Something I'm probably going to steal for things. But yeah, I was a fashion school serial killer. There's 4 issues of it out. I only picked up issue 2 this week. I'm going to read the next 2 issues. I'm going to run through all of these just quickly. The next one is Blood and Thunder. This was the one that was Big Things Image. Hit series from the mind of Robert Kirkman, as they say, but Kirkman isn't the writer on this, as Vince desperately scrolls through the comic to make sure he gets all the credits right. This is from Benito Sereno is the writer, E.J. Sue is the artist, Masick is the colorist, Russ Wotton is the letterer. This is just more great big sci-fi fun about a girl with seemingly a strange alien symbiotic hair. That's Blood, and her gun is a talking pacifist gun called Thunder. And it's like a buddy sort of comedy, and they're working for the cops. Well, they're a partner. That's how the cops work in this. You're partnered with like a sentient sort of gun. And in the first issue, there was more. You get to know them. There's lots of action, and you see kind of what the gun can do. In the second issue, you see a little bit more of a flashback of how she first met the gun, and also the prisoner from Cell Block X has escaped and is out in the public, and lots of people are dying. There was one thing that struck me. I mean, I do really, really like this book, and I'm going to keep going with this one. One thing that did catch me, though, is there were moments when I was reading it, and I know there is like death in it, like people get their heads squished and stuff. Maybe not as extreme as the next book I'm going to talk about. But there were a couple of times where I was caught by the language. That's going to make me sound like a prude. But like there was a few... this is going to sound weird. There's a few shits and fucks that were in there that I suddenly thought, do they need to be in there? You know?
Right, okay.
Because I was thinking, this concept is almost strong enough that you don't need it, and therefore, could that possibly make it broader in its audience?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that traditional, almost like the TV shows. You know, you can show as much violence as you want, but don't say fuck or bugger.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of thing. So that just caught me a couple of times. You know, you see her in a sort of like apartment block, and she bumps into one of their neighbours, and they go, "Oh, what are you talking about that shit for?" And I was like, It worked. It both worked, but then took me out of it a little bit. I'd be interested to see what you guys think of it. But it is a great series. Lots of big, great character designs, great concepts, and the action's just ramping up. And yeah, so that's another great one. And the third one, which will be no stranger to a lot of people, I finally got around to reading issue 2 of Battle Beast from the Invincible universe. This is written by Robert Kirkman. Ryan Otley is the artist. Annalisa Leone is the colorist. Russ Wooten is the letterer. I tell you what, we've said his name quite a lot, but Russ Wooten's an absolute beast.
There's a lot of work, isn't he?
Yeah. It's great stuff. More of the same, bit of character development, but fuck me, it's one of the most fun books on the shelves right now. But it is pretty grisly because
Frank Cho's done a variant for issue 3.
Really?
Man, lovely stuff.
Otley, when you have it's like Otley, who is clearly doing stuff and having fun with it. Talk about next level, and I'm not just talking about like the violence and stuff. In issue 2, like you see like this space station floating in just floating in space, and just the detail that's on everything. You know, we were talking in an interview about like an artist who there's no blank panels. If there is a blank panel with Otley's artwork, it's because he wants you to focus on that moment in time, and it's probably the only panel that isn't covered in gore, because Battle Beast is absolutely just full of it. He seems to he's very bitey. Have you noticed this, Tony?
He bites the top of someone's head.
Yeah.
In issue 3, but doesn't bite the top of his head off. He bites the top of his head, then pulls his head off his shoulders.
Right, okay. Because he bites off a good chunk of something's face in issue 2, and also I think in issue 1 he also bit someone as well. But I tell you what, it's great fun for all the family. Battle Beast is just, I know exactly what I'm getting, but it also feels like it's one of the best looking books.
Really is. The art is some of the best art. I mean, let's face it, it's not like the deepest comic in the world. But that's not what I want from it.
No.
It's just a fucking big tear up for the whole of issue 3 as well. It's kind of like a tear up, and then they travel somewhere, crash land, and the end of it, he's about to enter another tear up. And that's all I want out of this.
Know that like end of the first issue, we know that the ship that he's on, the sentient ship he's on, hates him and wants to kill him. But
it's up front with that, so it's totally up front with him.
And the ship is constantly going, "I just hate you. I hate you. I want you to die." And he's just like, "Fucking bring it on, then." But the interesting thing is the other alien character that was introduced at the end of issue 1. I don't want to spoil anything about that, but I'm looking forward to reading that. So I'm going to read the third issue.
Yeah, he's in issue 3.
Yeah, I'm going to read that third issue this weekend.
It's just as good. It's just another good issue.
He's just he's a brilliant character that in the Invincible series, I can imagine when he turned up, you were scared for everyone else because he couldn't be beaten. But when you put on the other side of that, it's like, yes, I get to see how that plays out. I get to support him in a weird kind of way.
There's a weird dynamic, I think, coming out, that he's got a massive death wish. So he either wants to just fight and win for the rest of his life, but he really wants to actually die. I think there's a bit of that creeping in somewhere.
I love all the little nods they do to sci-fi stuff as well. In issue 2, he defeats... I mean, spoilers, he mashes up everyone he comes across so far. He defeats this massive creature, and within it, there's like a human being within that he pulls out like, what the fuck is this? And then these people are like, oh no, don't hurt them. That they've been in this cocoon for ages. And it's only like 3 panels where you clearly have a Star Trek crew having a discussion. Oh, they start to tell the backstory of this character, and he's like, I don't care about all that. And Battle Beast literally just walks away like, I don't care. Where's my reward? Yeah, and I love that sort of like they're just throwing everything into this, but like it's just the highest recommendation. So 3 number 2s, and thankfully none of them were number 2s. Like shit, they were all really good. Tony, what have you got to recommend?
So a quick one for me, because this one is currently sitting on a launch page on Kickstarter, ready to be launched. So I'm not going to talk about it in length. But it came through to us from Warwick Walker, who's we've talked about his books before actually, and it's called Eternal Reign, issue 1. It's black and white art by Eric Rivera, letters by Bob Kurthy. I like a black and white book. We're not seeing as many these days.
Cover looks fucking.
I've said, I was just reading in my notes here that it reminds me of kind of like one of those 70s, early 80s horror anthology books that you'll get from New English Library or something like that.
Amazing.
You know, there's that. Is it called Paper Books in Hell or something like that? There's that collection of
paperbacks from hell.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it reminds me of something you might see in there. It almost looks like a paperback novel cover as opposed to a comic book cover, but I'm not bothered by that. I think it's very distinctive.
Yeah.
It's kind of a goblet with skulls and demons on it, and 2 sort of ghostly hands about to grab the goblet. It's really good. It is a horror book. It's not necessarily a horror book to start with, but it does build to a sort of horrific part. I'm not going to spoil it all, but just to set it up, it's in a long and forgotten age, I think is how it describes itself. And a man and his wife are in an isolated cabin as soldiers approach. Now, the soldiers are that cross between Viking and Saxon. You know, they've almost got like Viking helmets, but they've got the sort of the eye guards that you are more commonly sort of Saxon. He's a bit of a slob. He's got a bit of a history. You're not really clear about it at the time. And she's wound up by him. She's like, stop leaving your boots out. Why don't you tidy up after yourself? Usual sort of crap. And then the warriors home invade them. And Bodin, who's the male character, does well at the start. And he hits them with got this sort of hammer. And the head of the hammer, just like almost like a DIY hammer, not like a battle hammer, it's been ornately, I don't know, it looks like it's made of steel, into the head of a fish. And he just does one of them with the head of this hammer. And you think, is this dude something more about this dude? I can't quite get what it's about him. And then you begin to realise it sort of rolls out. The head of the invading soldiers has got something with him that he hands to Bodin, and he says, "Did you make this?" And then it goes off from there. Really good, really clear, lovely black and white art. Absolutely lovely sets the scene, and then plays with you, and then fucking twists what you think it's going to be about. And I guarantee you, by the end of this issue, it will not be where you thought it was going. So have a look. Go and look up Warwick, Warrick, Warwick Walker on Kickstarter, and you will find this. There's a lot of themes in it about, are we really who we used to be? I guess is the way to think about it, which I think is an interesting way to approach historical horror kind of drama, and it gives that added character development.
In what sort of way? In that kind of like.
It's hard to say without spoiling.
Can you leave because there's the tale of can you leave the past behind? Can't you, like that history of violence kind of that.
He's done something for people that is invested in violence,
right?
That has produced violence. He's done something.
Right.
Can't really say what it is, so I don't want to spoil the story.
No,
but he's partaken in the creation of a very violent society, and he's done so very well. And now he's living his life out in a cabin in the woods. And the past returns to haunt him a bit. Well, a lot. More than haunt him. But yeah, it's nicely written, nicely drawn. Lovely crisp black and white artwork. Yeah, so it's Eternal Reign. Eternal Reign issue 1. Look out for that on Kickstarter.
Amazing.
Nice. That sounds
Lots
great.
of great books to check out. Watch out for. Add to your wish list. Maybe catch up on. There's a bit of everything for everyone. And that's what this show's all about. And this show's all about comics. So we hope you have enjoyed this week's episode and everything we talked about. We've got some interesting topics, guests, and more. I've got some interesting questions to throw at my
can't wait for him, V.
Yeah, I'm not going to let them know. I'm going to ask them on the day, so they've got to think of it. They've got to think of their answers on the day. Keep it natural. Au naturel. Yeah, like your Musk. Anyway, so look forward to that. But
Dan wanking on all fours.
Oh God, why? But until then, If you want to get in touch with us, maybe to say no more of that content, please. There's several different ways you can
We'll
do
ignore you.
Yeah, we won't get back to you. But no, I'm only joking. But you can email us awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. Likewise, if you've got any books you're working on, any charity endeavours, if you're a comic book store that just wants a shout out, please do get in touch. You can follow us on social media at awesomecomicspod on Insta, at the awesomepod on X. Thank you for listening to us, whether it's on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. Maybe you listened on Apple. Just leave us a nice review, please. That'd be lovely. Helps more people know about the show and gets the word out, etc. Likewise on Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife. What other networks are we on, Tony?
We're on the Podknife, the Pod Network. She was as wet as Nan's mattress.
What is wrong with you this week? I mean, some people say
that other one didn't come on the air. That was the worst one.
What do you mean that this? Yeah, I know, listeners. There are
dripping like a plumber's mop.
Let's finish it, boys.
Right, yeah, we're going to finish it. And also, Tony, don't use up all your good material because we've got many more weeks.
There'll be more next week.
Speaking of which, where can people find us online, etc.? Tony,
neverwriteanything.com or Tony Ez on EZ on Substack.
I'll follow the Awesome Comics podcast on Substack as well, where you can
get it's a good place.
Well. Yeah. And Dan, where can they find you?
You can find me, I said on Twitter. Yeah, on Twitter at Vanguard Comic, and you can read Vanguard at vanguardcomic.com, or join the Patreon when I'm uploading stuff daily on the making of the third Viper book, yet to be named.
Nice, and it will be worth it. Get on it. You can find me.
One thing I'm trying not to. Sorry, Vince, to interrupt you. The last one was about Russia, and this one's going to be about China. So I don't want to kind of like put that out there because China will invade Taiwan if I do that. Like last time when I did.
Oh, imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I must say every time you make something that historically you're trying to reference something in the past, and unfortunately something happens.
Comes true.
Yeah.
Can you do one about me invading Jane McDonald's knickers, and then it might happen?
Yeah.
No, she'll probably invade your knickers.
Tony, say no more.
Massively up for that.
Yeah. Wow. You can find me on social media at Just Diablo. Thank you very much for listening, everyone.
Thank you.
Please don't have nightmares. I will. But I will, so you don't have to.
Yes.
So, wherever you are in the world, we hope you're happy, healthy, enjoying comics, enjoying making comics, reading comics, just everything about comics. God's sake.
Comics.
Be one of the good ones, because there's far too many of the bad out there.
Yeah.
And until next week, from Dan, Tony, and myself, in Awesome Comics Podcast HQ. Well, what should they do, gentlemen?
Stay awesome.
Stay awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.